So let us deal with reproduction. Now, what does it actually mean that the offsprings or the progeny as in offsprings, the ones which are produced, they are somewhere similar or mostly similar to their parents. Now, implicitly when we think about reproduction, we do think about sexual reproduction, but of course there is also asexual reproduction. Now before that, let's just get into some of these examples, okay, that have been mentioned in the textbook. That is for fungi. So how do they reproduce? Multiple asexual spores. Okay, now why I am mentioning here, actually the examples mentioned here are for asexual methods itself. We are familiar with the sexual reproduction methods, right? The ones which for we humans, flowering plants, they all come under sexual reproduction, where there are two parents, as in a male and a female. Here it is not necessarily that way, and it can be from a single parent also. So now this is by asexual spores, where multiple of them are released and they will go and they will settle, and then from them we will get new ones, new offsprings, and they will grow to do the same in the future. Now another example, yeast or hydra. Now they have mentioned in the textbook lower living organisms, like lower levels of living organisms like yeast or hydra. Now why they have considered them as lower strata of the living organisms, we'll get to know as we go step by step in the subject, but here just remember that they have mentioned so. Now yeast and hydra, they reproduce by something called as budding. Now budding is something that you might know. I'll take the example of hydra. Say this is the body of hydra, right? Say this is the body of a hydra. Then it will form buds here, and now this bud will grow and it will form another one. And now from that it will cut and it will form it will like move away once it is well developed enough to survive on its own, and it will form the new one. Same for yeast also. Now we'll see the next one, this planaria. Planaria, in simple term, we can also call it as flatworm. Why flatworm? The term itself is self-explanatory. The fact that it is flat, it's like the dorsiventral surface is flat. Okay. Now, how does this regenerate? It also regenerates by a beautiful method, that is regeneration. Okay, regeneration. Now this is like, say this is a planaria, say, okay, and now there is some harm inflicted or something happened by which it has lost a few parts of its body. Now this has a beautiful mechanism where each part can regenerate again into a new organism. So technically what happens, this becomes another, this another, and this another. So you got 3 new offsprings from the same individual because of this method of regeneration. Okay. Now all of this fungi, filamentous algae, FIL.filamentous algae, and this protonema of mosses. Now mosses they come under plantae, and they come under bryophytes. But we will not go into that now. But please remember that they come under plantae for now. And now what is protonema? Protonema is something that it uses for reproduction. Again, we will deal with this properly up ahead. Okay. Now all of them, they are using asexual methods. Okay. Asexual methods. Now you might have noticed that all of them are multicellular. Multicellular. Now we'll take another example. Now this example is different from them in the fact that it is a unicellular organism. Now not just amoeba, there are many unicellular organisms, algae, there are many of, okay. But now we'll stick to this. This one, it will divide, okay. It will divide, and by dividing, see, say this is an amoeba, and it will divide and it will form 2 more. Okay, now it has reproduced that way. But now the thing here that we must notice is that we talked about growth that time. Growth was the building of mass, building of numbers, right, in our body. Like in a very clear statement, if there is a body, the body is subjected to an addition of mass by which it has increased in size or girth. Now when we come to reproduction, it would come in number, right? There's one individual, and now from that individual we got three more, or from one to another we get, the number increases. Now in higher plant or animals, the higher strata of organisms, this is always exclusive. What is always exclusive? Growth and reproduction in higher organisms are always exclusive. Okay. So now the question comes: is it exclusive even even at the lower strata? No, not necessarily. Why am I saying this? Is because when we took the example of amoeba, which is a unicellular organism, which is obviously at the lower strata, it divided, right? But can you exclusively tell that it was only for reproduction? We can also tell it was for growth, because after this is just one cell, the whole organism is just one cell, right? So it can be considered as either growth, or it can also be considered as reproduction. Now remember this then. Two conclusions: that growth and reproduction are exclusive. Yes, but it is in higher organisms, say plants or animals. But they are not necessarily exclusive. They are not necessarily exclusive where in cases of lower organisms. Okay, so now that is a very important point. And now the last point is reproduction. We'll come to the point where we dealt with growth, the characteristic and defining feature, that concept. Now we found out, we understood that yes, reproduction is a characteristic of living organism, right? It is a characteristic. We have understood that by the diagrams we have taken and by the explanation we have come to. But now, is it a defining feature? So now we might be compelled to say yes. After all, the example that I took, mountains, when I was discussing about growth, they don't reproduce, right? It's not like one rock will just divide into two and bring new rocks, right? It doesn't happen that way. So is it a defining feature then? Yes, no, it is not. Now why am I saying this is because you might have heard of some animals. They are called as, you might have heard of them like mules and liger. Now what are they? They say mule. Now this mule was born out of like the sexual reproduction of a horse and a donkey. Horse and a donkey, they're from different species, so the chromosome number hasn't really matched up well. And in this organism, yes, this is living, but it cannot, it cannot reproduce and produce offsprings. So it is sterile. Okay, when we mean sterile, it means they are not able to have fertile offsprings, or in this case not have any offsprings. Now this is not the only example. We also have liger, that is a lion and a tiger. Okay, again the same case goes to this also. So from this we can see that these examples, there are many more, that they are living, they are approved as living, but they are not able to reproduce because of their chromosome number and other faculties of them which doesn't support this process of reproduction. So does that mean that they are not living? No, they are living, right? So with that we can conclude that this is not necessarily a defining feature. So now what have we concluded? That growth is not a defining feature, reproduction is not a defining feature, growth and reproduction are exclusive in higher organisms. Exclusive, what do you mean by exclusive? That they separate, they are not interconnected. Like growth is happening, reproduction is happening, and both the processes are not intermingled anywhere, or one doesn't have to do anything with the other. Okay, so please remember that. But then they're not always exclusive. When you come to the lower organisms, they are not exclusive. Okay, so I hope you understood that.